Welcome to the Teach the Geek podcast, where engineer and author Neil Thompson talks with STEM professionals about public speaking, a struggle for many of us. Whether you're a novice public speaker or a proficient one, you can always pick up tips on how to improve. Here's your host, Neil Thompson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a solo edition of the Teach the Geek podcast. I am Neil Thompson, the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. I've decided that I wanted to do more of these solo episodes because if you are a listener of the podcast, you know that the overwhelming majority of the episodes are me interviewing people. But I think hearing directly from me and just me can be a good idea as well, just to kind of break up the monotony of interviews all the time. Although I will say, I really do enjoy doing the interviews, so that's definitely something that I will continue to do. I wanted to talk about the genesis of Teach the Geek and why I'm so passionate about why I was so passionate about starting it and continuing it, and just the benefits of technical people improving when it comes to communicating, especially when it comes to communicating with non-technical audiences. And I saw this for myself firsthand. My first job was working at a startup, and at the startup, I didn't have to do a whole lot of speaking in front of others, and that wasn't something that I was all that not unhappy about, I'll say. It was someone else's job to do it. It wasn't until my second job working as a product development engineer that I was told I was going to be a project lead. And as part of that job, I'd have to give presentations to senior management on a monthly basis. And I will say those first few presentations were absolutely horrendous. I did not know it was possible to sweat that profusely from one's body. But there I was doing exactly that. And I knew that I wasn't doing all that well because I would get questions after the presentation that I thought I had answered during the presentation. But because I didn't put things in a way that the people in the room, the CTO, CEO, CMO, C fill in the blanco, all the C's, I didn't put things in the way they understood. Well, now I'm getting all these questions afterwards. And I think a big issue that myself and then other technical people have is we have all this technical expertise and we just assume that because we get it, other people will get it too. But one thing that we need to recognize is they're not the same level of technical expertise as we are. And another thing we should recognize is we weren't always at the same level of expertise. Typically, you have to go to school, you have to take on a technical role, and over time, you develop this expertise. And yet here we are just assuming that what I know, it's obvious, and but these people should know what I know, but they don't. And then you'll end up like myself, getting questions after the presentation you thought you had answered. And I noticed that this just wasn't the case with me. I would sit in on some of the other presentations that project leads, who were mostly engineers, were doing, and well, they weren't all that much better at the presentations than I was. So I knew there was something there, but that was a number of years ago. It wasn't until maybe a number of years after that that I think, that time when I used to struggle giving presentations in front of others, maybe there is something there to really help people like me improving their speaking skills. But why would I be the person to do it? Well, I mean, I think I'd be the person to do it because I eventually went down the path of improving my speaking skills. And I started that with going to Toastmasters. For those of you all that don't know, it's an international organization with chapters all over the world, and their goal is to help people in improving their speaking skills. And I joined a chapter, and even when I left that job, I joined a chapter close to where my new job was. Basically, wherever I was, if there was a local chapter, I joined. And it offered an excellent forum to practice giving presentations and getting feedback from others. And another thing it helps with is becoming more comfortable speaking off the cuff. I think a lot of times, us technical people, we shy away from doing that because we want to make sure that what we say is precise, that's accurate. And there's a possibility that when you're speaking impromptu, that you may say something that, well, isn't all that precise and accurate. But Toastmasters did a great job of making me and other people, I'm sure, more comfortable in speaking on something that you weren't prepared to speak on. And that definitely helped when I would use it in the workplace as well. So it wasn't a few, as I said, it was a few more years until I decided Teach the Geek was going to be a thing. I'd now become a much better communicator. And I thought, I really want to help the people like me, other technical professionals who have technical roles, and maybe they have to give presentations like I did. Maybe it just had to do with communicating with teams because I worked in teams quite a bit when I worked as an engineer. Maybe you have a conference talk to do and you wanted to do as good a job as you can with that conference talk. Maybe it's just even communicating in the hallway with just another colleague. And so it wasn't really a presentation per se, but it certainly was communicating with perhaps a non-technical person. I really wanted to help those types of people become more confident and comfortable speaking to non-technical people in such a way that those non-technical people would actually understand what we're saying and wouldn't just pretend to. Because God knows, I'm sure I've been in that position before too. So that's really where Teach the Geek was born. Initially, it was a course, an online course called Teach the Geek to Speak, and I sold it to engineers and other technical people in technical roles. It wasn't until the pandemic that I decided that approaching organizations with Teach the Geek offerings would be a better use of time since the technical people were there and I would only have to sell to the organization as opposed to individual technical people. So that's what Teach the Geek is now. It's doing trainings within organizations that have technical staff and helping them to become more comfortable and confident presenting in front of non-technical audiences. Certainly the online course is still there and the technical people have the opportunity to take that online course, but I also have a book and a workbook that can go along with those courses or that course in addition to doing group trainings so people have opportunities to practice what they what they're having to say in front of others and getting feedback. Certainly been a labor of love, but not only that, it's just been something that I've been very passionate about because I saw the need in myself and eventually saw the need in others and thought that there's definitely something there. And it's proven to be true because no matter where I am, if I'm even at a networking event and people ask me what I do and I talk about Teach the Geek, they almost always say, "Oh yeah, I could definitely see the need for that." Maybe they've been in a situation where they were communicating with a technical person and thought to themselves, "I have no clue what this person is saying, just smile and nod." Well, yeah, that could very well be the case. So that's essentially what Teach the Geek is today, and the motivation for starting it, and the motivation for keeping it going. It's just me seeing the importance of technical people, not only for them benefiting from getting better at communicating with non-technical people, but for their perception with others. I mean, for so long, I think us technical people have been seen as these nerds that sit in front of computers and talk a whole bunch of jargon that no one understands. But we can be those communicators. We can be the people who impart information that's useful to an organization. And it's a lot easier to train a technical person to improve their speaking skills or their communication skills than it is for perhaps a non-technical person to learn what the technical person already knows and essentially regurgitate it because they may very well not do as great a job as the technical person can. Just give them that training and watch him or her succeed in whatever role they take on. And then not only that, but I'm also a firm believer in technical people perhaps moving into other roles that might not be technical, but because they have these communication skills, well, now they can be put into marketing. Now they can go into sales. Now they can go into fields that perhaps they didn't think they could go into before because they thought they were just being pigeonholed as being an engineer or a scientist or a technical person with a technical role. And let's face it, AI is all the rage nowadays. And the people who are working in those fields, who are working at companies who are developing AI enabled products, well, those are the technical people. And who better to communicate the importance of these projects, of these products, than the people who are working on them, the technical people themselves. And so there really is no downside in my mind to technical people improving at communicating with others. And that's the reason Teach the Geek exists and the reason it continues to exist. So, as many of you all know, well, obviously you know that there is this podcast, but I also have a YouTube channel. That's youtube.teachthegeek.com, in which I also offer tips on getting better at giving presentations. I speak on topics ranging from dealing with nerves to how to structure a presentation, everything in between. Just information that could really benefit technical people in improving their speaking skills. Since a lot of us, we have a whole lot to say, and if we just get better at saying it so that people from outside our fields can understand, well, now we're more useful to our organizations, and we're more useful, well, to the world, I suppose. So that's really all I wanted to say about this. So hopefully this has been interesting. At least it's been interesting to me to just recall and just talk about the beginnings of Teach the Geek and why I started it and where it's going and my hopes for it for the future. So certainly if you want to check out the YouTube channel, you can go to youtube.teachthegeek.com. And also I have a list of, or a bunch of tips that I offer in people getting, or technical people getting better at giving presentations. And if you want access to that, you can go to teachthegeek.com/tips. Again, that is teachthegeek.com/tips. So that's all for today. And for the next week, I'm sure you'll be hearing another interview that I do with someone interesting that has a technical background, and we'll talk about their journey in improving their speaking skills. But until then, take care and stay safe. Well, everyone, that marks another episode in the can. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like these episodes and want to support Teach the Geek, please subscribe, share, and like on any of your favorite podcast platforms. We're on all of them. Also, if you prefer to watch the episodes, head on over to the YouTube channel at youtube.teachthegeek.com. Until next time.